it out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 638th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and Nancy Wolf, the altogether astonishing Nancy Wolf.
Thank you.
I think she might say the same thing about me. I don't know, but there might be some different thing behind it. Anyway, this show is news aggregation for energy and climate change, and we are recording it on a Thursday, the 28th of August. So we're covering news from the 21st of August to the 27th of August, and 3 items each day. This comes from my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com, although if you scroll one way or the other, and there aren't all that many directions you can scroll, you will find perhaps a link to tiny URL slash, I think it's slash, it might be dot, no, it's slash, Energy Week 638. And you will find in there the 21 things that we're talking about with the pictures and links to the original article, so you can actually find them. And this week I actually checked to make sure that they all were live.
Good.
Sometimes I get one in there that isn't. And mostly because I have said copy without format instead of just paste without format instead of paste. And if that happens, you can go back to the original blog, but I'm sorry it does. Anyway, we should start.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we have a picture here of new energy installations in the United States by type, starting in the year 2000 and going up to this year. And this is already installed and expected installations through December.
So this is from Clean Technica.
Yeah.
And the headline here is over 50% of new U.S. electric generating capacity will come from solar in 2025.
Yeah. Developers added 12 gigawatts of utility scale solar capacity in the United States during the first half of 2025. And they plan to add another 21 gigawatts in the second half. I want to explain that, which I will do in just a moment. If they realize that plan, solar would account for more than half of the 64 gigawatts that developers bring online this year. The second half of the year almost always has more than the first half. And the reason is because there are various things, including laws, that are changing at the end of the year. So the installers want to get things done before that happens. So anything they haven't installed in the first half, they rush to install the second half.
It's like how people spend money when the fiscal year, before the fiscal year ends. You got to get all of it out before the new budget.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you'd think that people would turn to embezzling just to get the money out of the budget. But, I wouldn't recommend that. Anyway.
Not recommended.
I want to point out a bunch of things about this picture. If you look at 2002, you see that it's like 58 gigawatts of almost all natural gas installed. If you look at 2025, it's considerably more. It's 63 or 64 gigawatts. And solar, battery, and wind account for more than was accounted for by wind in 2002. And, we have, and I should also point out that solar is big, but it's really only 75% or so of the solar that is installed in this country. because 98+% of solar installations are not utility scale. They're small or intermediate sized. And you know, when the solar was installed at the landfill here in Brattleboro, 5 megawatts went in. That was at one time listed by the federal government as the only solar installation in Vermont, because they didn't pay attention to things that were smaller than 5 megawatts, or in some cases 1 megawatt. And if you had 100 kilowatts someplace, that's a pretty big array for somebody's backyard or something. That's a community array or something that can be shared by a neighborhood. We just didn't make it to the federal books. So that installation of solar that we're expecting this year, the solar, which is the bottom half of that right-handmost bar, is really only about 3/4, maybe 2/3 of the solar that's actually going to be installed. Some years, 40% of the installation is smaller than utility scale. So, we'll go on.
Yeah, let's go on.
I love this picture.
Oh, it's lovely. So this is from Euronews.
Yes.
And the headline here is Renaturalization of Wetlands slows global warming and species decline.
Yeah, this is something that really, I first found out about this about 2 or 3 years ago. For many centuries, farmers drained swamps to gain arable land. I remember people doing this when I was a kid. This contributes to climate change, so the European Union wants to reverse it. Now a law sets out a detailed timetable. By 2050, half of the damaged moors are expected to be what is called healed, and a third of them through re-wetting. And believe it or not, a bog like what you're seeing there, wetlands, this is wetlands. Wetlands actually draw down about 15 times as much carbon per acre as forest. It's hard to imagine. But sphagnum is pretty amazing stuff. And, you know, it just grows fast, dies, drops to the bottom. The next batch grows, dies, drops to the bottom, gets thicker and thicker. And out on the moors, you don't want to go walking out on the moors. You might get swallowed by the sphagnum. Makes me think of old Sherlock Holmes.
I was thinking of Loch Ness.
Loch Ness?
Loch Ness Monster.
Yes.
Yeah. You just,
Yeah.
Can't go walking around now. No.
The UK is such an amazing place. I knew a guy who went to school, I think in Cambridge, and he had a roommate, and both of them were waked up by a ghost. And the ghost walked up a flight of stairs in the middle of the room, that flight that was not there, and reached out to one of them, trying to hand him a paper. And when the guy's hand went through the paper, the ghost just disappeared back down the steps. And he looked at his friend, and the friend said, "I saw it too." And they swore to each other that they would not tell anybody. Neither of them would tell it. Well, the friend told his girlfriend, and a couple of days later they had a knock on the door by a person who was wearing what could have been a weird uniform, who said, "I want you to come with me."
Always go with that person. Excuse me. Always, every time.
And he was from some organization that was part of the government that investigates ghosts. And if you
X-Files? No.
No. And they actually identified who this person was. They came into the room because they had no record of stairs and ripped up the floor to find stairs.
And not Ghostbusters.
Not Ghostbusters.
Man.
And if you think this is a joke, we're not talking about energy here. The UK had a castle that had been turned into a museum. And I remember this appearing in a number of places in the news. And there was a door that went into a courtyard that kept getting opened in the middle of the night. So they put up a camera and they actually caught an image of the ghost opening the door. And they went to the people who were in charge and, they detailed what it was. They figured out that they couldn't tell who the ghost was, but they knew approximately the age because the museum had a person who was in charge of clothing, historical clothing. And she said, well, that's clothing from the 14th century, but it's not anything in our collection. And once they got as far as they would go, they quit. They had all the information they were going to get. They were not going to spend time on it. But it appeared in the papers. This was so weird. Anyway, we should keep going on.
Yeah, let's go. Go on.
I'm sorry about that. For many centuries, farmers drained swamps. Yeah, I said that. Now a law sets out a detailed timetable. Half of the damaged moors have to be healed, a third of them through re-wetting. So they're going to re-wet the moors are going to recover, and they're going to become carbon sinks, because that's what moors are. And as a matter of fact, you can do pretty much the same thing in many places, and they're doing this in England and Wales. Or they did it in England intentionally, and it happened unintentionally in Wales.
Right.
They introduced beavers, which had historically lived there, but they had been hunted they were extirpated, and they, there were no more around. So they reintroduced the beavers. The next thing they knew, they had beavers in Wales. Some of the beavers they introduced had young who went to Wales. Maybe they wanted to learn to sing. Anyway, okay, we have a picture of this. And this is from Renews. I'm going to let Nancy tell you what the title is.
Yeah. So SPR completes EA3 converter station jacket installation.
The jacket foundation. The jacket, by the way, is the yellow thing on the right side of that picture. Jacket foundation for the offshore converter station for Scottish Power Renewables 1.4 gigawatt East Anglia 3 wind farm has been put into position 69 kilometers off East England. The installation of the 3,700 metric ton, 59 meter high base. So that yellow thing weighs 3,700 metric tons, which is it's something over 4,100 short tons. The tons we're accustomed to. And by the way, there are two cranes on that vessel. You only see the near one because the other one's behind it. And either one of them could pick that thing up all by itself. I think between them they would pick up something like 12,000 tons. 59 meter high base was completed by Harima crane vessel SS CV Sleipnir. I love these Scandinavian names. Anyway, 69 kilometers is 43 miles off the coast. There's no way you could see this from shore. And by curvature of the earth will take care of that, if nothing else. 59 meters tall, that thing is, which is 193 and a half feet. And that thing is gigantic. I mean, this is 20 stories tall. Okay, we'll go on. Unless you've got something.
No.
We're up to Friday, August 22nd.
Yeah, so this is from Renews.
Yes.
And the headline is Solar Leads U.S. Capacity Growth.
Well, we touched on this before. We're back to it. We're going to be back to it again. 3/4 of U.S. generating capacity was solar in the first 5 months of 2025, as solar extended its lead as the largest source of additions for the 21st consecutive month. That's pretty significant. The Sunday campaign said, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission showed solar took 75.3% of new capacity, while 15.6% was wind. That comes to a total of almost 91%. And what is the United States doing about this? It's shutting off wind and slowing down solar as much as it possibly can. Meanwhile, we've got 6 gigawatts of natural gas capacity ready to come on, and artificial intelligence and digital currency and you name it, it's all coming along, magnifying demand. And how are we going to meet that demand? I think I know how to do it. You get a huge squirrel cage and you take certain politicians and make them run it. Oh, man.
Squirrel cage match, huh?
Yeah, right. Okay. Have you got more to say?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's go on to this. I like this picture too.
Yes. So this is from Euronews.
Again?
Vineyards begin 2025 harvest early after hot temperatures.
Yeah, I should mention the reason why we're hitting Euronews over and over again. I had been using BBC. All of a sudden, BBC has a paywall. So I don't want to make people have to deal with a paywall. So I switched sources. And Euronews, I think, is better than BBC for energy and climate change. So I'm happy with that switch. Did you read that? You did. Okay. French winemakers were forced to bring forward the 2025 harvest earlier after heat made grapes ripen earlier than the traditional wine harvesting season of September to October. Harvesters in Chateau Carbonneau found temperatures near 40 degrees Celsius strained white wine grape clusters. I failed to put in what 40 degrees is, but I can tell you it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
And what happens when you have a hot growing season for grapes is that you typically have an inferior wine because it's ripened too fast. The whole trick to making wine, I am told, I have not made a lot of wine.
Okay.
I've made a fair amount of beer. And I know the tricks to making good beer.
Okay.
But making good wine is different.
Yes.
Because in order to make good wine, the first most important thing that you've got to do is harvest the wine at the right stage of ripeness. Grapes.
Yep. Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. With beer, doesn't matter. So, by the way, my birthday is coming up. I'll be 79. And I have told my family not to buy me birthday presents. I didn't say it, but I've got too much junk. And so I decided that the thing to do to celebrate my birthday was to buy some Lindemann's Pêche, which is a type of lambic. Have you ever had lambic?
I have in college.
Okay.
A while ago.
Well, I will give you a bottle of lambic because in order to get one bottle of Pêche, I had to buy 16. They're very small bottles.
Yeah.
And I've decided my birthday coming up, I'm going to celebrate it by giving people a birthday present. And for
get everybody
anybody,
to enjoy your birthday.
yeah,
Right?
I'll tell people at the co-op, you can go down to the co-op and buy lambic. Just ask where it is because you won't find it by looking around. Not easily anyway. But if you ask, they'll show you. And they don't have pêche, which is peach flavored, but they do have framboise. And from the Lindemann's Framboise in, as I recall, 1995, won first place in a tasting competition in San Francisco from a panel of professional tasters who awarded it as the best wine in show. It's not wine, it's beer. And if you taste it, you'll figure out pretty quickly why they made that mistake. Because it's unlike anything else out there. Anyway, I'm destroying this show by going too slowly. All right. Okay, we're up to Saturday, August 23rd. We have, wait a minute. No, we're not up to Saturday. We're up to drone deliveries.
Yes, drone deliveries. So This is from Renews. Drone deliveries hit spot for Ørsted.
Okay, Ørsted is carrying out an offshore cargo drone operation across its UK offshore wind fleet. The developer and UK operator Skylift use flying basket drones, that's what they're called, to lift evacuation equipment boxes weighing up to 70 kilograms onto turbine nacelles at Hornsea 1 and 2 and Walney 1 and 2. More than 550 flights are planned. Now, 70 kilograms is 154 pounds. And if you didn't take it up this way, you would have to carry it up on a ladder that goes straight up 30 stories. So actually, it would be possible to hoist it up. But hoisting it up inside a turbine nacelle does not strike me as fun either. So I think this is going to make things a lot easier. Anyway, okay. We're up to Saturday, August 23rd. We have a picture of an Ørsted blade loadout.
Yeah, so the headline here is Trump administration stops construction on 80% complete offshore wind farm.
This is from Offshore Wind Biz. Only days after Ørsted reported that its 704 megawatt Revolution Wind is 80% complete, the Department of Interior's Bureau of Ocean Energy Management issued a stop work order halting all offshore construction activities on the project. Now, Ørsted had spent $1.5 billion on this. And why did they have to stop construction? Explanation, quote, to address concerns that have arisen during the review of the department, that the department is undertaken pursuant to the President's memorandum of January 20th, 2025.
Yes, the President's memorandum. Yes.
It's because the President's memorandum, he wants things closed down. And, you know, the first lesson of this is don't invest in the United States.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, there's a second lesson, which has to do with Abrego Garcia, which is don't come to the United States. And there's a third lesson that has to do with Columbia and Harvard, which is don't go to the United States to study because they might cancel your visa.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can go down these lists, and it's scary.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, we have a picture of the Tibetan Plateau.
Wow.
And this is from Euronews.
Yeah, so China races to build the world's largest solar farm to meet emissions targets.
Chinese government officials showed off what they say will be the world's largest solar farm. High on the Tibetan Plateau. And by the way, I looked all over the place for pictures of the Tibetan Plateau. That is the Tibetan Plateau, but most of the pictures I had showed more mountains than this. And it's a plateau. I've never been able to figure out why plateaus are so mountainous, but that one has at least a flat area in it.
So it plateaus. Okay.
Yeah. What can I say? It will cover 610 square kilometers, which is about the size of the city of Chicago. This is a solar farm in China, in Tibet, the size of Chicago. As China is installing solar panels, its carbon emissions have actually started to fall. I think that's impressive. 610 square kilometers is 235 and a half square miles, or 150,734 acres. They're not joking about this thing. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we should go on.
China just continues
to rock.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a picture of solar panels in space. This is from inside the ISS space station, International Space Station.
Yeah. So this is from Payload Space.
Interesting publication. What can you say?
The headline here is Study Finds Space Solar Power Could Make Europe Net Zero.
Space could play a key role in helping the European Union reach its goal of net zero GHG greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, a study says. Researchers from King's College London and Xi'an Jiantong University proposed that space-based solar power could account for 80% of Europe's renewable energy by the European Union deadline. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
What happens when this thing comes between you and the sun and casts a big shadow?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
This business of energy being beamed from space to Earth has me a little bit.
Has me a lot.
Yeah. What happens if something happens?
Didn't one of these fellows want to put our nuclear waste in space?
Oh, they keep talking about that.
They keep talking about
that. Since
I
was a kid, they've been talking about putting the nuclear waste on a rocket and sending it to the sun. Or
it's like, it's gonna come back though. That's the whole thing with space. It comes back.
Well, the thing about sending these rockets up is that sooner or later, and it's going to be soon, not late, one of them is just going to say poof and in the atmosphere, and you're going to have the 50 tons of plutonium or whatever it is that you're sending aloft
or just generally your trash, because China won't buy it anymore. So your trash, just send the trash into space. The trash will return.
Yeah, the trash will return. You'll have the same problem with trash in space that we have now with plastics in the ocean.
Yes, exactly.
Only it'll be worse. Okay, we're up to Sunday, August 24th. We have a picture of the Kursk nuclear power plant. And this is from latest news from Azerbaijan.
Yeah, so the headline here is Fire Breaks Out at Nuclear Plant After Russia Claims Downing Ukrainian Drone.
They're having so much fun shooting these drones around Europe, and they keep, coming close to nuclear power plants. Honestly, well, I'll say it after reading this. A fire broke out at Russia's Kursk nuclear power plant after the military shot down a Ukrainian drone. The facility said the blaze has been extinguished. It was put out pretty quickly. According to the news.az, citing the Kiev Post, I guess they say now, the drone detonated on impact, sparking the fire. We don't know what the original target for that drone was. And you've got a drone approaching a nuclear power plant. Is it smart to shoot it down as it's approaching, or do you want it to be flying away? I mean, I don't understand this. Maybe, and this is something that occurred to me, the Ukrainians wanted the Russians to know that their drones could reach nuclear power plants in Russia in order to put in mind to the Russians that it might not be a good idea to allow the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant to melt down, because the Ukrainians could retaliate by making huge areas of Russia uninhabitable.
This sounds safe.
People don't know about the Tishkim incident. Do you? I think you do.
Probably do. It sounds extremely familiar.
Nuclear fuel center that blew up in Russia. And American CIA figured out that it had blown up or done something like that because new maps in the Soviet Union showed a whole bunch of villages all disappear.
Yes, I do know about this, yeah.
And, this was, I think, the second worst nuclear incident after Chernobyl, they say. But, you know, I don't think they rate those nuclear incidents correctly anyway. But
Right. Who's rating them?
well, I honestly don't know that Chernobyl was any worse than Fukushima. I mean, one of those reactors at Fukushima, the explosion, two of them had white explosions that blew the sides of the buildings outward. One of them had a black explosion that went straight up. Why did that happen? I think, you know, I've never read anything that said, no, this reactor absolutely did not blow up. And the prevailing winds would put all the radioactivity out to sea. Mm-hmm. So, and then we had SRE in Simi Valley, California, and it melted down and nobody bothered measuring how much material was gone.
Yeah. Or
if they did, they didn't talk about it. Okay.
Well, you know, Command and Control, that book, you know, there's lots of unaccounted for materials that are just in the U.S. landscape of parts of bombs, just you know, it's like as if
it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's like we don't know where our weapons are.
And one thing I tell people sometimes, and when they think about it, they realize it's true, is there's no such thing as a place that isn't downwind from a nuclear power plant. I mean, even if you're in Seattle and there's no nuclear power plants around, there are nuclear power plants in Japan and China, and if they go the wrong way, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, and then there's also so many facilities that a lot of people are unaware of that are affecting their environment. And, you know, Washington has Hanford. So there's...
Yeah, that's true.
There's also that. And the water source.
In the UK, you have Sellafield, where they lost, I think it was 200 pounds of plutonium into the ocean.
Yeah, right.
Which means that happened 50 years ago, 60 years ago, whenever it was. And there's still places in the UK where you can't fish because the fish are all radioactive. And they don't talk about that. They just don't fish.
Yeah. Well, you could say that about native land too, that, well, certain people can't fish anymore in those lands, but who was fishing?
Lake Champlain used to have commercial fishing. Did you know that? It was commercially taking people out to sit there and fish, but they stopped doing that over 100 years ago because the lake was polluted with mercury. I mean, we're destroying our environment. Okay.
Yes.
We have a picture of wind turbines and an item from Utility Dive.
Yes. So the headline here is PJM surplus interconnection can support 153 gigawatts of solar, wind, and storage.
In the PJM connection, I will get to what that is in just a moment. Thermal and renewable generating facilities have surplus interconnection capacity that could support about 153 gigawatts of solar, wind, and storage, according to a working paper by researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. Now, what is a PJM? P is Pennsylvania, J is New Jersey, and M is Maryland. And those are the states that PJM started on. But it is now includes all or part of 13 states. This is a big area that is all in the interconnection. Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, along with the District of Columbia. Now, if you draw this out on a map, it's pretty much all contiguous, although I think the bit in Illinois might not be actually contiguous with it in Indiana. But this is very big, and this is a lot of interconnection that can be put in there. 153 gigawatts of solar, wind, and storage is going to provide more reliable, better electricity, in my opinion, than nuclear would. And it will provide about as much electricity as something on the order of 40 or 50 nuclear power plants. So you could just put that in, is what they're saying. And in my opinion, it should go in as close to where the demand is as possible, so that you don't have to put up new transmission lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, people don't like that.
People don't like it, but transmission lines are deadly to birds. I mean, they're far, far, far deadlier than wind turbines. And in fact, years ago, I went to find out, how do they know what kills birds? People are talking about wind turbines killing birds. How do they know how many birds are killed by wind turbines? Who counts them? So I went looking for a peer-reviewed paper that contained that information. It took me a couple of hours to find one, but I finally did. And this particular site, they were doing an inventory of birds that had collided with generating facilities and their various parts. And they had a problem, which was that for every bird that they could see, identify, and tell had been killed by a collision, there were about 2 that they thought were probably killed by a collision, but they couldn't be sure because it had been eaten by a fox or was being carried away by a seagull or whatever. So they did an estimate, and they found that this inventory, which was being done during migration season, 5,100 birds had died at that one facility during the inventory period of 48 hours. Now, how many of them had actually collided with a wind turbine? 0. There were no wind turbines present. There were 6 generating plants, 5 coal, 1 nuclear. And these birds were colliding because they were flying at night well above the trees, and they just didn't happen to see the cooling towers. What kills birds most? Feral cats. Second most, domestic cats. You know, buildings. I used to own a house that had 3 picture windows in the living room facing south and 2 picture windows in the living room facing west. And if I didn't cover one of those sets completely with curtains, my cat could sit under a window and just feast on the birds that tried to fly through the living room. You know, anyway, we should go on. Mm-hmm. Okay, we are behind. It's official. News break. We have a picture of a village in Maya, which is in
Portugal.
In Portugal, that's right.
Yeah. So the headline here is Energy Company Secures Contract to Harness Near Limitless Power from Deep Beneath Island.
The Portuguese island chain, a Portuguese island chain, will soon generate more electricity from underground heat after an energy company won a contract for 24.5 million euros to upgrade existing facilities. The new system on the island of São Miguel in the Azores will generate 5 megawatts, which doesn't sound like a lot, but there's not a lot of people who live on São Miguel, you know.
It will go far.
What?
It will go far.
It will go far. We're up to Monday, August 25th, and we have a picture of a solar installation.
Yes, we do. So this is from CNBC. Solar executives warn that Trump attack on renewables will lead to power crunch that spikes electricity prices.
Who could guess?
Who could?
You stop 95% of stuff being installed during a crisis on growth and demand, and who could have guessed that would affect things? Okay, President Trump's attack on solar and wind projects threatens to raise electricity prices for consumers and undermine a stretched electric grid that's already straining to meet rapidly growing demand, renewable executives warned. Will he pay attention to them? Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go on.
Yeah.
Unless you've
Let's
got
go
more.
on.
Okay. This is a picture of a solar installation in Nunavut.
Yeah. So this is from Yahoo News Canada. How a solar energy company is trying to lower Arctic communities' diesel dependency.
A solar energy company in Canada says it's reducing carbon emissions in Canada's north by nearly 1.3 million kilograms per year. Green Sun Rising completed 4 solar installations in Nunavut this summer in Green Pond Inlet, Grice Fjord, which is the picture of what that one is, Arctic Bay, and Clyde River. So, you know, they do this a lot in Canada, trying to get renewable energy, which could be, if you think about this, Nunavut is pretty far north. I mean, there are parts of Nunavut that are farther north than Greenland. And it is really, the thing that I read here is that it is the most depopulated national area, I forget the term they used for it, in the world, because it's an area which is almost as big as Greenland, and 35,000 people live there. Greenland is not small.
Canada's big.
Canada is big, that's true. And Greenland is big. So anyway, on we go.
On we go.
This is a picture of Revolution Wind. We're back to this thing that, you know, about the Trump administration closing it down.
Yeah, so this is from Clean Technica. Headline here is when an offshore wind project shuts down, a gas pipeline gets its wings.
The Revolution Wind project off the coast of Rhode Island was brought to a screeching halt by order of the Interior Department, even though it was already 80% complete. And once again, a proposed multi-state gas pipeline is lurking in the background. Yeah, it's lurking in the background. The pipeline that they identified in this article is Enbridge's Project Maple, which runs from Pennsylvania to Rhode Island. And I would guess probably is intended to run past Rhode Island, possibly even through Boston and up to Maine, so that gas can get shipped to Europe. It's going to take a long time to install. My guess is that it would not come online until after the president is out of the White House. And we need the power right now. And this is so disruptive. It's just crazy how the damage that it will do, because it's chaos.
Well, yeah, of course. It's inconsistent chaos.
Yeah, which is something which is unfortunately characteristic of the Trump administration.
Right.
Okay. And we could talk about why that is, but we're up to Tuesday, August 26th, and I'd rather talk about whatever it is that MSN is bringing us.
Yeah.
More of the same.
Yes. Well, why investors are avoiding U.S. renewable energy projects.
In the first half of 2025, global investors in renewable energy hit a record, but fell in the United States. A Bloomberg NEF analysis shows this. Since the 2024 U.S. election, the European Union has seen a big jump, supporting the idea that developers and investors may be reallocating capital out of the United States and into Europe.
We're doing business elsewhere. That's what they say.
Everybody is doing business elsewhere.
Yeah.
You can't deal with the United States because you can't trust what's going on here.
Yeah, because you have no idea what's going to happen. There's no predictability, no reliability.
No accountability.
No accountability of those abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have a picture of a solar array and an article from Transformers magazine. You'd think that that's some kind of cartoon character.
Right. Yeah. Well, so China first to surpass 1,000 gigawatts of solar capacity.
This kind of blew me away when I read it. China passed a historic milestone in renewable energy by becoming the first country to surpass 1,000 gigawatts of installed solar capacity. And I would bet that the second country is probably India, and it has a installed capacity that's less than half of that. Just, thinking off the top of my head, maybe I'm wrong, but the China Electricity Council says the country added 210 gigawatts of new solar systems in the first 6 months of 2025, taking its installed capacity to 1,100 gigawatts. 210 gigawatts installed in 6 months. In all time, the United States has installed 178 gigawatts.
Yeah, it was good timing for them to do that because, yeah, that's good. That's good timing. They figured it out.
They have figured it out, and I'll tell you, they know how to take advantage of the United States in its current position.
I think a lot of folks know how to take advantage of the United States in its current situation.
Yeah.
It's not even,
We're going to make America great again, but a great what is the question?
Yeah. A great
Okay, we have a picture of offshore wind turbines and this article from Renews.
Yeah. So Trump plans to revoke permit for 2.2 gigawatt Maryland.
What in the world is going on? The Trump administration aims to revoke a permit for U.S. Wind's Maryland offshore wind farm of up to 2.2 gigawatt capacity. Reportedly, attorneys from the Justice Department told a Delaware court that the Interior Department would move to vacate a plan for construction and operations by the 12th of September. And another article, which I didn't put into this report, said the Trump administration is planning on killing all offshore wind development. So
it would make sense with this memo. Yeah.
It would, but
yeah.
Where are we going to get the electricity we need? I saw that and I thought, holy smokes, we're heading toward rolling blackouts.
Yes, if our consumption does not change,
we're going to have to reduce consumption.
We have to reduce consumption if we don't have the power.
And I don't see where it's going to come from. It can't come from nuclear. I saw an article, I think it was today, it might have been yesterday, I did not mark it down, which said that one of the small modular reactor companies actually had a reactor that they thought they could bring online by 2030. That isn't going to help this. And we have zero.
To wait till 2030 to.
Yeah, right. We have zero new coal capacity being developed. Nothing. And there's no chance that we're going to develop it. And as for natural gas, 5% of what we've got scheduled to come on is natural gas. 5%, 6 gigawatts.
You gotta start having some pirate energy or something. Like people are going to be pirating energy somehow. Like people pirate other things.
Well,
like what?
Maybe this is going to be a time of big growth for small solar installations, rooftop, backyard, community, that kind of thing. It would make sense. People are going to need electricity, and it's being taken away.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to Wednesday, August 27th, and we have a picture of a meeting at NREL, and this meeting that picture came from is about concrete and cement. So that young woman is talking about concrete and cement.
Yes, paving the road for cement and concrete technologies from Clean Technica.
Yeah, cement and concrete are essential to the infrastructure in the United States. Accounting for 50% of all materials produced globally, domestic production of this critical material is highly energy intensive. That is, the United States is producing 50% of global cement. It relies on outdated technology, yeah, I believe that, and requires imports of nearly 30 million tons. I'm sorry, we're making the concrete. We're importing the cement every year, 30 million tons. So here it is. How are we going to deal with that? There are ways of making cement that is not carbon intense. And, you know, I remember reading a thing about a brick that a woman, I think in Colorado, had figured out that if you took the correct bacteria and put it into water that had the correct nutrients in it, and then put that water into sand that was in a form of a brick, and just left it for a few days, you'd have a brick. Because that's what the bacteria do.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, what is that material that's jumbled up? Seashells. And it basically is just a big block of stone, but it's jumbled up seashells. And it's recent. I'm not talking about the White Cliffs of Dover or something. I'm talking about recent stuff that comes. There's a word for it. That's what it is. It's seashells that got glued together by bacteria. Bacteria is amazing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. Okay. So we have a picture of offshore wind power from Mary, whoever Mary is.
Yeah. Thanks, Mary. This is from A Invest.
A Invest.
The Trump Ørsted wind project crisis. A wake-up call for renewable energy investors.
We're back to investors. We're back to Ørsted. We're back to Trump. We're back to, you know, the Trump Ørsted, wind project crisis has laid bare the fragility of renewable energy investments in the United States, exposing how geopolitical and regulatory volatility can destabilize long-term infrastructure projects and erode investor confidence.
Yes.
What can I say? This is eroding investor confidence, and people who are investors want to be confident in their investment. Or they want to say, this is risky, I want 30% or 50% or whatever it is that they say, you know. I'm sorry, it's just sad.
It's just the same, it's because it's the same story over and over again,
yeah.
Because it's just, oh, wait, we're not investing. Oh, wait, we're picking winners and losers. Oh, wait, it's just insane.
Yes, it is. And I had friends when I was young. Unfortunately, they have all died. But these were guys who were very conservative, and they would say, no government should be picking and winning and losers. We should let the market do that. Well, Trump doesn't want the market to do it, because if the market did it, we wouldn't have any investment in gas or oil in this country at all, because it's all too expensive. And nuclear? Are you kidding me? Nuclear is amazing. It's so expensive. Okay. This is what we come to. And this looks like some mythical creature's hair. I don't know.
Yeah. This is from Euronews. Same space, two harvests. Euronews visits the first seaweed farm and an offshore wind park.
Which is agrivoltaics in the water. Except that it isn't voltaics because it's wind power. In seawater sheltered from vessel traffic, Euronews visited North Sea Farm 1, an experimental 5 hectares is what, 12 acres, something like that. Seaweed plantation. Imagine owning a plantation of seaweed. It's part of a pioneering project combining offshore wind energy with ocean farming, and it just yielded its first crop. And I happen to be one of those people who enjoys a good seaweed salad. So,
Great.
do you like seaweed salad?
I don't. Yes, I do like seaweed salad.
Okay.
Yes. It's got vinegar, seaweed. It's great.
Yeah. So that was our last story.
Yeah.
That picture, by the way, is just seaweed. It's not seaweed from the seaweed project, which is all growing on a net. And the net has big holes in it so fish can go through and so forth. And there was a thing in the article talking about how they pulled these nets out and they had mussels on them. So they're thinking of selling mussels. I'm sorry, I don't think mussels are going to grow fast enough for that. You grow the seaweed and put the mussels back if you can, or you harvest the mussels and the seaweed is an aside. But I don't think they fit together temporally very well. Okay, I'm going to call it a day. Is that good?
Yeah.
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
And we're wishing everybody a particularly enjoyable week.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
The birds in the trees don't know what's coming. Little foxes playing by their dens don't know. The apple trees sleeping in the orchard are unaware. Change has fallen upon us. We lose more and more with every delay. The good news is we're all in this together, and when we see we're together, we can work things out. We are the agents of changes we see in the world. We can make things better, but we can fail. Birds in the trees don't know what's coming. Little foxes playing by their dens don't know. The apple trees sleeping in the orchard are unaware. Change has fallen upon us. We lose more and more with every delay. We are the agents of changes we see in the world. We can make